So I'm going to customize the section element itself, but at first let's insert here new comments, section 1, end of section 1, then select section element. So first of all, I'm going to set the width and height. Let's make width 100%. As for the height, I'm going to make it 100% of the viewport. Therefore, let's set it to 100 VH. Then change background color. Let's use here color 333. Okay, so as you can see, the section 1 is extended to the entire page and its background color is changed. Next, I'm going to place the content in the center, and for that I'm going to use Flexbox. We need to set display property to flex. Right now elements are placed horizontally in a row, and actually we don't need it, so we have to change the flex direction and make it column. Next, in order to place the elements horizontally in the center, we have to use Align Items Center. So the elements are placed in the center, and now I'm going to add some space between them. For that, let's use Justify Content property with the value space evenly. Alright, that's it regarding section element. Let's move on and customize the heading. I'm going to select it. First of all, let's set font size to 12 rem. Also change the font weight. I'm going to make the heading bolder. Let's set it to 900. Also change the color, make it white. And I'm going to align the text in the center. After that, let's make the words capitalized using text transform, capitalize. And also I'm going to create some space between the letters using letter spacing with the value 0.5 rem. Okay, finally, let's create a little shadow effect. I'm going to use text shadow with the values 0.3 rem 3 times, and as the color I'm going to add here 000, which is the black color. Alright, so the heading is customized, and now we have to move on and take care of the icons. So let's go ahead and select them. First of all, let's increase the font size, make it 35 rem, and then change the color. I'm going to use here color A79A2D. Okay, so we have here our icons. They are much bigger and colored. As you remember, those icons should be placed in the center and we have to animate them. At first, let's assign to them position absolute. So right now icons are placed on top of each other. It happens because by default position absolute jumps out the elements from the normal flow of the page. Besides that, we need to fix the positions of the icons. I think right now would be better if we hide all the icons except one, because it will make our working process more convenient. So I'm going to comment all the icons out except the first one. Alright, after that, let's fix the position of the icon. We need to place it in the center, so we have to move it a little bit up and to the left side. For that, let's use transform property with the translate function. Actually, this function allows us to move the element according to the horizontal or vertical directions. I mean according to x-axis and y-axis. As the values, let's insert here minus 50% for both directions. Alright, that's it about the position of the icon. Finally, I want to add to it some shadow effect. So let's use again text shadow. Insert here 0.2 rem 3 times. And use again black color. Alright, so as you can see, the icons are customized, and now it's time to create the slideshow. First of all, let's get back all the icons. So we're going to hide and display the icons using the scale function. At first, let's go ahead and hide all the icons. By default, the scale function has the value set to 1, and in order to hide the elements, we need to set the scale to 0. So now the icons are hidden. Next, I'm going to display the first icon because the slideshow will start with the first icon. For that, I'm going to assign to the first icon an additional class change, and then select the first icon using this class name. We need section 1 icons i.change. So to make the icon visible, we need to set the scale to 1, but besides that, we need to use again the translate function because otherwise it would be overwritten and the position of the icon would change. Alright, so the first icon is visible and all other icons are hidden. Now we have to create the slideshow, and for that I'm going to use JavaScript. So let's go ahead and open the script.js file. To switch between the icons, we have to remove and add class change to all the icons in order and also with some interval. The first thing that we need to do is to select all the icons. So let's go ahead and create new variable. I'm going to call it icons. Then in order to select them, I'm going to use one of the methods called query selector all. We need to specify here the class name section 1 icons followed by the I element. So in general, query selector all method returns an array-like object called node list. Its items have 0 based index numbers like array. Also, this object has a length property that we will use a bit later. So as we said, we're going to slide the icons with some intervals. I'm going to use one of the built-in methods called setInterval. It allows us to run the function over and over again with some intervals. So this method takes 2 arguments. The first one is going to be a callback function which will be executed over and over again. As for the second argument, it's going to be the amount of time and it should be expressed in milliseconds. In our case, I'm going to set the interval as 4000 milliseconds. Alright, as you remember, right now the first icon has class change. We have to select this icon to remove the class change from it and then add class to the next icon. So let's go ahead and create new variable. I'm going to call it icon. Then use query selector method in order to select the element. Let's select this element using class change. After that, to remove class change, we have to access the classes of this icon. So I'm going to use one of the properties called class list. It gives us all the classes that the element has. We need to attach it to the icon. And now we have to use one of the methods called remove. Let's specify here the class change. So now after 4 seconds, the item will hide because the class change will be removed. Okay, next we need to display and hide other icons in order. For that, we have to get access to the next icon, and in order to do that, I'm going to use one of the properties called next element sibling. Let's attach it to the icon. Then again, we have to access to the classes of this element. And finally, we have to add to it class change. Actually, I want to show the entire cycle of the slideshow and I want to make it quick. So let's change 4 seconds into 1. So, as you see, the icons are changing after each second. If I inspect the page and display the elements, you will see how class change is added and removed from each icon. Once it is removed from the last icon, then we get an error saying that cannot read the property class list of null. It happens because the last icon doesn't have any next sibling. To fix that problem, we have to do some extra work. we need to track somehow each switch of the icon. For that, I'm going to create a new variable. In this case, I'm going to declare it with a let keyword because the value of this variable will be changed. This variable is going to be a counter, and I'm going to set it to 1 by default. So on each execution of the function, I mean on each change, this counter should increase by 1. Once it is greater than the length of the icons, we should set the counter back to 1, and also we need to display back the first icon. So in order to increase the value by 1, we have to use the increment operator, which is expressed by 2 plus signs. Next, we need to create if statement, and as the condition, we have to check if I is greater than icons.length. So if this condition is true, then it means that one cycle of the slideshow was over, so we need to display back the first icon and set the counter to 1. In order to access the first icon, I'm going to use the node list icons. And then we have to specify the index number of the first icon, which is going to be 0. Then we need again class list. Then the method add, and we need to specify here the class name change. Besides that, we need to set variable I back to 1. Okay, so if this condition is not true, then we need to run this line of code. So let's create else statement and insert here this line of code. Okay, so once the entire cycle is over, then it starts again. You can see it here in DevTools. Alright, we're almost done with the slideshow. The only thing that we have to do is to add some transition effect. So let's use transition. Then we need to specify here transform, and as the duration I'm going to add here 0.3 seconds. Besides that, we need to add transition down below as well, because once the scale of the icon is decreased, the next coming icon should wait for 0.3 seconds. Therefore we need some delay time. So let's insert here 0.3 seconds. So now, as you can see, we have a much nicer effect, and the only thing that I'm going to do is to change the time and make it 4 seconds. Alright, that's it. We are done with the first section. Let's move on and take care of the next one.